To the king of Yehuda, who sent you to inquire of Yahweh, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith Yahweh the God of Israel, concerning the words which thou hast heard, because thy heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before Yahweh, when thou heardest what I spoke against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast torn thy clothes, and wept before me. I also have heard thee, saith Yahweh. Therefore, behold, I will gather thee to thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace. Neither shall thy eyes see all the evil which I will bring upon this place. And to the king Yoshiyahu they brought word again. Of the books called Kings, the second, chapter 23. And the king sent, and they gathered to him all the elders of Yehuda and of Jerusalem. And the king went up to the house of Yahweh, and all the men of Yehuda, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of Yahweh. And the king stood by the pillar, and made a covenant before Yahweh, to walk after Yahweh, and to keep his commands, and his testimonies, and his statutes, with all heart and all soul, to confirm the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Chelkiyahu the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the threshold, to bring forth out of the temple of Yahweh all the vessels that were made for the Baal, and for the Asherah, and for all the host of the skies. And he burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of Kedron, and carried the ashes of them to Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Yehuda had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Yehuda, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burned incense to the Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of the skies. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of Yahweh, outside Jerusalem, to the brook Kedron, and burned it at the brook Kedron, and beat it to dust, and cast the dust thereof upon the graves of the common people. And he broke down the houses of the male prostitutes that were in the house of Yahweh, where the women wove hangings for the Asherah. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Yehuda, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Gaba to Beersheba. And he broke down the high places of the gates that were at the entrance of the gate of Yehoshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of Yahweh in Jerusalem, but they did eat unleavened breads among their brothers. And he defiled the Topheth,
which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire for the Moloch. And he took away the horses that the kings of Yehudah had given to the sun at the entrance of the house of Yahweh, by the chamber of Nathan-Melech the chamberlain, which was in the precincts, and he burnt the chariots of the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the roof of the upper chamber of Achaz, which the kings of Yehudah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the 2 courts of the house of Yahweh, did the king break down, and beat them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kedron. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, which Shalomor the king of Israel had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Thidonim, and for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Melechom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile. And he broke in pieces the pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, even that altar and the high place he broke down, and he burned the high place, and beat it to dust, and burned the Asherah. And as Yoshiyahu turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount, and he sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar, and defiled it, according to the word of Yahweh, which the man of the God proclaimed, who proclaimed these things. Then he said, What monument is that which I see? And the men of the city told him, It is the sepulchre of the man of the God, who came from Yehudah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, Let him be, let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet that came out of Shamaron. And all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Shamaron, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke Yahweh to anger, Yoshiyahu took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and he returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, saying, Effectuate ye the Passover to Yahweh your God, as it is written in this book of the covenant. Surely there was not effectuated such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Yehudah, but in the 18th year of King Yoshiyahu was this Passover effectuated to Yahweh in Jerusalem. Moreover, them that had familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the teraphim, and the idols, and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Yehudah and in Jerusalem, did Yoshiyahu put away, that he might confirm the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiyahu the priest found in the house of Yahweh. And like him was there no king before him that turned to Yahweh with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moshe. Neither after him arose there any like him. Notwithstanding, Yahweh turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Yehudah, because of all the provocations wherewith Manasseh had provoked him. And Yahweh said, I will remove Yehudah also out of my sight, as I have removed Yisrael, and I will cast off this city which I have chosen, even Jerusalem, and the house of which I said, My name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Yoshiyahu, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? In his days Paro-Necho, king of Mithraim, went up against the king of Ashur to the river Purat, and King Yoshiyahu went against him, and Paro-Necho slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Yoshiyahu, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamital, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his fathers had done. And Paro-Necho put him in bonds at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 kakarim of silver, and a kakar of gold. And Paro-Necho made Eliakim, the son of Yoshiyahu, king in place of Yoshiyahu his father, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. But he took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Mithraim, and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Paro, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the command of Paro. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of every one according to his taxation, to give it to Paro-Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zebidah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his fathers had done. In his days Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him, and Yahweh sent against him bands of the Kashdim, and bands of Haram, and bands of Moab, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Yehudah to destroy it, according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke by his servants the prophets. Surely at the command of Yahweh came this upon Yehudah, to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and Yahweh would not pardon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin his son reigned in his stead.